What's going on? It's your man Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I am your host, and I have a dope episode today. As always, I like to bring to you real people who are doing real things in the real world from communities just like yours. The culture doesn't promote stuff like this. The culture is all about, I can't cuss in the first minute, or YouTube will kind of, do some stuff to my algorithm. So I'll wait about 20 more seconds to go in. But to you all, I want to talk to a brother today who's he's got his hand involved in a couple of businesses that many of you all don't really see a lot of black people involved in. This gentleman is an accountant by trade. He partners with his family and they operate a trucking business. His wife is a dentist, so they operate a dental office and so much more. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Damien Jones. What's good, man?
Hey, what's going on, brother? What's going on, man? Hey, we're going to give you a little grace. Go ahead and get your first word in, because we know it's coming, man.
And it's coming, man. I say if the culture, it typically is perfectly fine promoting get high, get drunk, fuck bitches, kill niggas. We a minute in, so I can say that, right? And the funny thing about that, though, my guy, is that everyone who subscribes to this culture understands how problematic that can be.
Yeah, very much.
When we're in the barbershop, when we at, family dinners, we talk about how fucked up it is, but no one ever really addresses it to the mainstream. It's like we're afraid to say something to these people that are put into place to essentially make us look crazy or to misrepresent us. And man, I'm just kind of tired of sitting back, getting my ass kicked by this culture.
I don't blame you. And it's something that I'm glad that you've brought out, because it's something that I'm like an introverted extrovert. Mm-hmm. So I speak to myself a lot about a lot of the things that you say. Yeah. But I'll go and introduce myself. Like my man said, Damien Jones, from Fort Worth, so Funky Town, yes sir, Funky Town. There's always this thing about it's like a laugh about, like, people say, "Oh, you Fort Worth," or say, "Oh no, you from Dallas." Yeah. Like if you go to Houston, everybody thinks you're from Dallas. Yeah, like if you tell them from Fort Worth, they think you're from Dallas. So no, we from Funky Town. So born and raised in Funky Town. Man, like you said, your trucking company. So me and my family have owned and operated a trucking company for over 13 years now. My brother was kind of the pioneer in that. He went out and got his CDL. And for me, it was more of, hey, how can I be the glue for the business? And so that's when I went through school, got an accounting degree, got my master's in business administration, because that's what I thought I should be doing, to better my life. And it allowed us to grow our trucking company exponentially. I mean, we ran a trucking company all the way up to 180 trucks. Oh yeah, that's
dope. We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we do a little bit different than a lot of people that do trucking. So definitely ready to get into that. One of the other things that we do, my wife, she's a dentist, as you mentioned. So we own and operate 1385 Dental Studio. It's in Aubrey, Texas. So right around the Frisco, Prosper area. One of the few black owned dental practices in, the U.S. I mean, there's not many.
Ain't too many.
Yeah, about 6% of dentists are black. Yeah. And so she's doing an amazing job, and I'm just there to kind of, again, the business, the glue to it again. Then also, I own and operate the Truck and Cheat Code. So, as the pandemic hit, a lot of people wanted to understand how to get in the industry. And so me and my partner, Truck Estates, we started the Truck and Cheat Code. And so we've been coaching. I think we've coached over 400 people since the pandemic, since we started it. That's dope. We teach you how to get started in the industry, teach you how to stay alive, which is our main suite of coaching, and then we teach you how to dispatch.
That's interesting, because it seems like everywhere I go on social media, somebody has a trucking course, right? Trucking, I always say trucking is like the closest thing to the dope game as you'll get to the dope game, because of the barriers of entry. It's not that hard to get into trucking at all. And the, what's the word I want to use for it? You don't necessarily, you can have a background, and still drive trucks. Most of the guys that I know that come home from the feds or come home from the pen, one of the first jobs they get into that actually helps them make good money is driving trucks, right? Yeah. But subsequently, a lot of times, and I know I want you to talk about your business because you guys run a different business model, which is very interesting. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you get a lot of that street nigga shit that's involved in trucking, and it muddies up the field. It muddies up the perception of what trucking is. Because when me and my wife got into trucking, we bought into a bad system, and it just didn't work out for us, man. And, finding no one told us like, December is the worst time to get into trucking because that's when trucks essentially stop at the end of December. And then between December and pretty much all of January, you don't really have that much movement. So we bought a truck like at the beginning of December. We couldn't get anybody in it. We couldn't get a driver until like almost February, end of February, March. Yeah. But the person that put me into the game didn't tell me that. So man, I'm paying like I put like $25,000 down. I was paying like $3,000 a month for my truck and my insurance and shit, and we weren't moving shit. Nope. And so I'm thinking to myself, damn, if I buy a $25,000 property and put money into it, I can have somebody rent it out by next month. Yeah. And so eventually I just got up out the game. I said, you know what, this ain't for me, or maybe I'm not, I don't have the right blueprint, but I got up out the game, was able to recuperate my initial down payment, but I lost the monthly payments, and then we just called it a wash. But I want to talk to you about how you guys do it, because you do a little bit differently. So let's talk about that. Like, what are some things about the trucking industry that you feel like you don't like that is used to portray the entire industry, but you look at it and say, man, that's not what we're about, and that gives us a bad rep?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that you mentioned, the first thing that you mentioned about the second chance industry that it is, it does bring a lot of bad apples, and it brings a lot of scarred people. Right, like the people in our industry, they're scarred, so they don't trust anybody. They have a get over mentality. So you will get drivers that will come to your company that actually want to drive trucks, actually want to make money, but a part of their scheme is to get over on you somehow. Maybe steal your fuel, maybe mess your truck up, and then go get another job. So it's an industry that is full of hard knocks. It is not an industry for the weak at all. And
it's a lot, man. It's a lot of nigga shit that go on in trucking, man.
It's a lot.
We're gonna keep it real. Like we don't sugarcoat shit on this podcast. Like within the black community, man, there's this thing that says that we can't critique or hold accountable our own people. The fact of the matter is that we should be holding accountable our own people and critiquing them so that we can, make adjustments so that we can do good business with one another and then create a foundation. So I just saw a bunch of nigga shit when I was in there, and it's like, it scarred me.
I've been through it all, man. I've been through fuel theft. I've been through truck theft. I've been through damage of my truck. I've been through damage of an engine by just doing something as simple as not putting oil or water into it. These are not like small repair bills either. These are repair bills. Oh, let me not put a gallon of oil or 4 or 5 gallons of oil in your truck and run it. Shit, that oil costs $120, but that engine costs $12,000 to fix. Well,
and let me say this too. It's not just the black people doing, off the wall shit. Because somebody sold you a badass truck one time, right?
Man, I've that's another one. I mean, we bought a truck thinking that it's gonna be good just from, going to the auction, and I have a reel that I posted on my social media about it. Went to the auction. It was a whole scheme with the truck, Hey, let's show them that the truck has been through some significant repairs, that the engine's been repaired. Put it on the dash of the truck at the auction.
So I watched that reel and I was like, damn. And like I said, that wasn't us, right?
No, that wasn't us.
Umar say, what he say, that this is Negroes. It could be white folks, but this is Negro. No, that wasn't black folks that time. There was some good old boys that messed you over, huh?
Man, I picked up the repair receipt and actually made the call because I'm thinking, like from my background as an auditor, so we'll get into that, but I was a internal auditor for 12 years in corporate America. And my background as an auditor, I'm thinking smart. Let me go ahead and call and actually verify that this actually happened, and it did. They said it happened, right?
So they had it set up to where you went to an auction, you saw a truck, it looked good, you start looking through it, you open the door, on the seat of the truck is an invoice that said the engine has been completely repaired. You say, oh, well, let me do my due diligence. You call the people to check and make sure everything was completely repaired. They pick up the phone and say, yeah, man, this is good to go, right?
Yep, exactly. Oh, the repair was actually completed. We get a month out of the truck, engine gone. Now we into a situation where we got to repair the engine. And let's not even talk about the situation from that point to now getting to where the truck is sitting in the back of my shop. And actually, it's just sitting there because I won't go through another bad mechanic situation. Like I told my brother before, it's like, bro, the next thing we need to do with that truck is it's beautiful enough. Just go get a crate engine or go to Kenworth, $30,000 engine. And, you know, we should be able to get a lot of useful life out of it.
Yeah.
But, man, a lot of...
It's
as
grimy,
you say, a lot of fuck shit happens in the trucking world.
The trucking industry is grimy, bro.
Man, it is terrible.
It's grimy. Terrible. And it's like everyone knows it. It's like it's a certain culture. So, but with that griminess, there's a lot of a reward. With that risk is a lot of reward. Like you can go into the trucking industry. It's the only industry I know of where you can literally get your license and start driving ASAP and start making money ASAP.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of, I don't want to call it politics. It's just a lot of shit that goes on that can make a person raise their eyebrow and question if I want to deal with this. And it's not like your typical customer service with a business. Now you dealing with some people, black, white, no matter where they come from. The mentality a lot of times is different. So I want to segue into that because, you know, you and your brother, you guys operate things a little bit differently. Like it's huge to you guys to present professionalism. Yeah, it's a big thing to have your books in order. It's a big thing to be able to show a blueprint that actually works. And you all actually, you know, you run the oil fields, right? Yeah. Which is another thing that a lot of people don't get into because they don't understand that process. Let's talk about a little bit more. Like, one, how'd you guys get into the oil fields?
Yeah. So our initial start in trucking is much different than a lot of people. Like our start was in the oil field, and that was primarily because my brother started as a frac hand in the oil field. And so a lot of people, when they get into trucking, what they do, they go over the road, which they don't actually understand that I'm taking my truck on its furthest, let's just say 3,000 miles away from its home base, where I know where I can potentially get it fixed. I know where I can get a new tire. I know where my driver is at that point, right? Like, all of these things matter in trucking. And so what happens is, for us, we actually started in the oil field, which is centralized to Texas for us at that point. And the furthest that our truck is away, let's just say 500 miles. Okay. So we can always go and touch our truck, but it makes it more complicated when you're taking your truck 3,000 miles away. And so the oil field, and, you know, as we say that term, the oil field, it's a lot of layers to pull back. We just gonna say oil field, because it's super complex. And my brother actually teaches a course that gets more in depth into what the oil field means, but it's very complex. And the normal consumer only understands I get gas, right? They just understand that I pull up to a Shell or whatever and I get gas, but it's a very complex ecosystem is what the oil field is. But our start was in the oil field hauling frac sand. And so to make it simple, a lot of people probably remember that there was a lot of news around, you know, minor earthquakes happening in Irving, Texas. Probably about 10 years ago. I
remember that.
Yeah. Minor earthquakes. And a lot of people was talking about, oh, they're fracking and they're, you know, pumping sand. So frac sand down into the ground, and it's fracturing the structure under the ground, and then ultimately causing, you know, earthquakes. And so there was a whole hoopla around that. But essentially, that's what fracking is. It's pumping sand, water, chemicals into the ground to fracture the soil under and bring up the natural resources under there. Okay. And so it's a new technology. Not a new technology. It's actually been around for a long time, but they've actually advanced in the technology to be able to get more oil out. Okay. And so we had our start there. And then, you know, as our time grew, you know, we started to put on trucks. We started to, you know, get more owner operators and things like that. And ultimately, grew our company to 180 units in 2017, 2018 time frame. And, you know, we all know as the pandemic happened, had to scale back.
Yep. The pandemic caused a lot of us to have to scale back. The pandemic, man, I lost over $100,000 in 2 years just off of office rent because my office was set up to offer meeting space, workspace. I had a big conference room, and it was jumping prior to the pandemic. And then literally when the world shut down, all the people that rented my rooms, all the people that rented my meeting space, even the offices within my office, they all went away. And it's interesting because even today, like I need to get a retaining wall built for my house. And I had a contractor come over today, and we were talking about it. He says, man, all the retaining wall people I know went out of business during the pandemic. He said, so I don't know any good people. So I was like, let me test this theory. So I go on to it's called here we got the good contractors list. I go on the good contractors list. There's no retaining wall specialist. Then I go on Google and I start pulling up people's name. Like the first 3 companies I called were all out of business, man. Yeah. And so then I went on the Yelp, and it was like one person, and they only had like a couple reviews. I'm just like, man, this is like pouring concrete wall. Like I can't find nobody to pour that because, the pandemic has shut a lot of stuff down, man.
It did. It shut a lot of stuff down. Trucking is one of the industries that it slowed down, but then it sped us up. Yeah. Because just the supply chain was impacted severely, in the time when things were shutting down and people were getting sick, people weren't able to come into work, production schedules were thrown off. So it sped the trucking industry up, and that's when a lot of people wanted to jump into it. And that's when a lot of people was getting this misinformation that they've seen all throughout social media, man.
Listen, the pandemic, man, I don't think I've ever seen so many people offering trucking courses in my life. Like the pandemic, it created an entirely new economy for trucking courses because before people didn't really teach trucking courses like that. But then during the pandemic, it was like everybody and their mama had a trucking course. And I'm the type of person, I like to kind of wait and see how long it's going to take for a person to really show who they are and to see if their fruits are really growing or if they're on some bullshit. And I saw a lot of people teaching them courses kind of go out of business because, people in the industry was like, man, this shit ain't working. And people was buying the courses was like, they're only giving us so much, especially the dispatch courses. Yeah. So I want to talk about that. Let's segue into the integrity of the industry because, I'm in real estate. I always say there's not a lot of integrity in real estate sales either. That typically what we see right now is, the people in real estate sales are people who like, man, ain't nothing else working for me. Let me go sell real estate, right? Yeah. But you and your family, you all have a business that you operate with integrity, with transparency. Yeah. You all share a lot of your mistakes, which I don't see that a lot in any business, but specifically in trucking, where people say, this is what went wrong and this is what cost me money. You all talk about the cost of getting into the industry and what it really looks like. And then oftentimes I would say you guys kind of steer people away from the industry if they don't have the money to invest because you talk about everything that could possibly go wrong versus just selling people a course. Why do you feel like that's so important to have that integrity in such a volatile industry? I mean,
it's very, very important. And just to the first story that you told me about, you get in the industry, you buying a truck in December. Man, I literally go through and sit down with the person. I want to know credit. I want to know what's on your credit cards. How much available credit do you have? How much available cash do you have? How you buying the truck? Do you have a partner? What's the relationship with you and your partner? How's that partner's finances? What time do you buy the truck? Oh, you tell me December? Do not buy that truck right now. I'm going to tell you straight up, somebody should have told you that, right? Do not buy that truck in December. Buy that truck in February. Go through the process of getting everything done for that truck. By the time March comes around, truck is humming and hawing. People are jumping jobs. And at that point, you can probably find a driver very fast, right? There's a timing to everything. Don't renew your insurance in December, right? Because if you renew your insurance in December, they want 20 to 30% up, but your cash flow is very low because why? It's the holiday time. People have taken off for Thanksgiving. They've taken off for Christmas. All of these things factor into you running a successful trucking business, and you cannot box that in a course very, very in a detailed nature enough for people to really get it. So mentorship is important. One-on-one mentorship, group mentorship is important. But courses, I like courses because it gives you an idea into who your mentor could be. Right? Like I always tell people, buy a course first before you sign up for the mentorship. Because if you sign up for the mentorship afterwards, then you're locked into learning from somebody who probably couldn't teach you anything in the first place.
Yeah.
But our goal is definitely like if you tell me you're interested in trucking, I want to go through this laundry list of things. I want to make sure that you fully understand what you get into, because the first thing that you're going to do when you fail, you're going to come back and say, damn, he didn't tell me that. Damn, you didn't tell me I was going to have to spend, $15,000 on repair an engine. You didn't tell me not to buy this, right? And I don't want that conscience, man. No, man. I don't, and that's the worst thing about,
because people like me and you, we tend to want to help them when they make a mistake, and then it start costing us, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can recall a time where, and this happened once. We sold me and my wife when she first started selling houses. We sold a house to one of her family members. And it was a nice house, bro. And something happened to where there was some foundation work that needed to be done, but it wasn't necessarily disclosed. And there was nothing we could do about it after the fact. So he was like, man, I done bought this house with foundation problems. Like, why y'all didn't let me know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we didn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was just that feeling of, man, they trusted us throughout the entire process with making sure their credit was right and this and that. And so my wife was like, man, I'm gonna help him on this, man. I gotta make this right.
Yeah.
And we made it right. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't have to, legally we didn't have to, but that was a relationship, bro.
Yeah.
And it was like, we had a long conversation about it, and the integrity has helped us make that money back 10, 20, 30 times.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people are like, well, man, it just is what it is. Sometimes it hit, sometimes it miss. It's a part of the game. When people tell me that it's a part of the game, shit, but it's some shit you could have told me up front, then the conversation gets a little bit different, because if it's a part of the game, you should have told me that shit.
Definitely. And that's the big thing about us. I don't want to bring you into something that you fail. I'd rather tell you not to come into it. I'd rather tell you this is not your time.
It's not your time.
I'd rather you tell you that you need to be more creative. But if you come into this and you fail, people have a tendency to ultimately still put it on you, even if they fail, because they don't take accountability.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And I can only speak for us. Again, I'm not beating up on my people. I only give feedback to people that I love. We have to be more accountable. We have to be more accountable, man. That accountability has to take place in order for change to take place.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, and I say this almost on every episode, I understand that there's a system of white supremacy. I understand that there's racism. Man, that's what I studied when I went to grad school, man. That's what I essentially got my degree in. I got a history degree. With that being said, we know that. So at some point in the game, we're going to have to stop expecting for the very people that we feel like are disenfranchising us to save us. We got to take accountability in many areas where we've dropped the ball, assure that foundation, so that we can then start building, right? Yeah. And a lot of times, even when there's mistakes being made, that's where that mentorship comes in. Oh, you did that? Okay, do this. Hey, you know what? That may not have worked this time, but try this time.
Yeah.
We're a partnership. And I always go into situations like we're partners.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, how can I help you build? How can I grow with you, so that when stuff hits the fan, because it always does, we'll know how to navigate that, and then we can teach others how to do the same. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Accountability in business is one of the number one principles that anybody should have.
Yep.
And especially in this culture where a lot of us are teaching others how to get into businesses that we ain't even really mastered in the first place, right? Like, we got to put the accountability on ourselves, and then we got to put the accountability for whoever's entering into that business. They got to take accountability and say, okay, I'm doing this. I'm buying the truck. If I lose all my money, I can't go back and talk to D. Jones or Damien and say, hey, bro, why did I lose all my money? No, I lost all my money because I'm accountable for what my actions are. So you got to be accountable, man. You got to be accountable.
So you mean to tell me there's people out there teaching shit they ain't doing?
man.
You mean to tell me that there's people out there putting together courses and selling you shit like they're guru, and there's some shit they ain't even did, man?
Man, people will buy one truck and instantly become a guru. Instantly become the truck god. Instantly. And listen, I've been in trucking almost 13 years, when we were starting the trucking cheat code, I didn't even want to start the trucking cheat code.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, I don't want to do this social media shit. Like, I just don't, because if somebody want to be taught, hit me up. I help you out.
Yeah.
But I seen that there was a lot of discrepancies, a lot of ways where people were going to enter this industry for the bad. And we're seeing that now. There's a huge failure rate in transportation.
It's huge, bro.
It's huge. And it's
financially,
it's always been failure. It's always been a huge failure rate. But now it's even more.
And it's financially catastrophic for some people, man.
Yeah, man.
Because you have to put, this is not like literally a blown out tire in a rural area can fuck your day. And then, you know, one thing about your brother that I can respect, like, he actually has his CDL.
Yeah.
So when shit pop off, he'll just fly down to wherever the truck is. I remember one time I hit him up. He's like, yeah, man, I'm coming down here to go get my truck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and that matters because he's actually involved in the business so much so that if something pops off, he can go get his own truck.
Man, that matters a lot. To your point, a blown out tire in a rural area will mess your day up. You're talking $1,000 a day,
bro.
And it's not like, you know, your truck is gonna make profitability. If your truck stops, you don't make money, right?
Yeah.
So now, okay, you were counting on money for that week to pay for that $1,000. Now you got to figure it out. That's where it comes into somebody actually setting you up. It's like, hey, you may need about 20 to 30, maybe $50,000 of liquid somewhere so you can actually get through these storms. And, you know, to the point of having a CDL, that's what makes me and my brother's partnership so critical and so fruitful, is because he's the operations, I'm everything else. Right? Because he can go and get the truck. For me, I was like, he got a CDL. I don't need a CDL. You know, because I got my brother, you know.
Hey, we're going to park there for a minute. You're not finna get off that easy. You said something that a lot of people are going to miss. You said, he's got the CDL. I don't need the CDL.
Yeah.
Because that's the part of the business that he can handle. And I'm saying that because too often, especially within the black community, I'm black, I can speak on this, we try to be the everything in business. We want to be the marketer. We want to operate the books. We want to operate the business. We want to do the management. We got to do the press. We got to go, like, you're stretching yourself so thin to where that thing that you love so much is becoming a burden to you now.
Man, partnership is a beautiful thing when done right.
Yeah.
I've been in some bad partnerships, and you know, my best partnership is with my brother, and my even better partnership is with my wife.
Yeah,
like partnerships, when done well, are a beautiful thing. And like you said, it's a delegation, or it's a delegation of duties that makes your business do well, and utilize talents in your business that you may not be good at, but you bring somebody in that is great at those, and it helps your business go to the next level.
Why do you think we struggle so much with delegation?
We want our hands on everything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I do too. I want our hands on everything. I want to be able to touch everything. But I will say, you can still delegate things and put your hands on it. Just stay in the communication, right? A lot of people, they look at delegation as something I give off and I never think about it. No. If I delegate to you, maybe I put a email, hey, just let's keep a thread going. I want to know what's going on, you know. Or
it's management, not micromanagement.
Exactly. So I'm delegating, but I'm also in the know. And so that's really, really important about business. Just staying in the know, man.
It's a lot of trust too. And you said something about trucking, how a lot of people come into the game scarred and they lack trust. In general, I think that's something that a lot of us go through, because even in the corporate world, we get screwed over so much, you know. There's this lack of trust and not knowing what to expect, what to do. So when you start doing it yourself, it's like, well, let me do it myself, because now I know for a fact it's gonna get done. Yeah. But then what happens, you know, on the flip side is that it won't get done because it's going through you, and things can happen. Illness can happen, injury can happen, death can happen. There's so many things that can happen in a business that can cause a person to have to scale back. Yeah. But then you still have people who want demand. You know, you want to talk about that? You want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely, man. My and it's a good segue to talk about the corporate world too. My corporate background is in internal auditing.
Okay.
And so what internal auditing is, it's basically looking at your systems and your processes and making sure, one, they're documented, defined, and making sure that they're scalable. And so a lot of times what we've done, we've gone into businesses. When I was in corporate America for over 13 years, we've gone into businesses and said, okay, how do you do A to Z? All right, you know how to do it. One, is it documented? Is it defined? And is it scalable? And can somebody else redo it based on the document that you do have?
Yeah.
In small businesses, we don't have that. A lot of people don't have it. And the reason why is because there's always one, maybe two people doing everything. Yeah. And a lot of the things aren't defined. And so when you go through these catastrophic events in your business, whether it be the loss of someone or the loss of, loss of a leader or a broken partnership, it makes things really, really tough to keep the business going. For us, we recently lost my mom, and she was the glue in the back office operations.
Yeah.
The good thing is that I taught her a lot of the things that she was doing in the back office, so I was able to pick them up very fast. And I always stay in the communication with her, like, "Hey, Mom, you're doing insurance. Hey, let me know what's going on with that. Have you done this? Or, hey, Mom, you're adding trucks, deleting trucks. Adding drivers, this, and that. Where were we at in these stages?" And so I was more of a management for her in the things that she done. So I knew exactly what she was doing. I was able to pick them up. But a lot of times what we do in our small businesses, we start a small business, we put somebody in place. We put somebody in place as things that we don't want to do or we don't want to learn. That's never the way to start a business. You need to learn everything about that business, be able to do every task in that business, and then delegate it out to people that are more efficient than you. But you need to be knowledgeable about every facet of that business from a small business standpoint. Now, as your business grows and scales up, of course, you're going to have people to do things that you can't do things that you don't know, but you still need to be knowledgeable. That's one of my biggest premises that I teach everybody that comes through the Trucking Cheat Code, or even if you don't come through: knowledge and awareness. Like, you got to be knowledgeable about the tax code, because I'm an accountant. So I was like, hey, just because you own a business doesn't mean you don't need to know anything about taxes, right? Because you can go to your tax accountant, they can file your taxes. No, you need to be knowledgeable. You need to be aware. Then you can pass that responsibility off to somebody else. But ultimately, if something goes wrong in your business, whether it be compliance related, taxes related, operations related,
it's on you.
It's on you.
It's on you. That's on you, man. And my condolences to you and your brother and the family for losing your mother. I had an opportunity to meet your mother. Very, very sweet lady, very delicate, she was mama. You know what I'm saying?
Mama, man.
She worked the room when we were at the trucking event. You know what I'm saying? Everybody came to see mama. So, I've from a distance watched you guys deal with that. And so I want to extend my condolences to you.
Thank you.
I also admire how, you stated that you were the one that taught your mother most of the processes and procedures, so you were able during that time to continue what you were doing, because within the business things have to continue. You can't ever replace a mother, right?
No, you can't.
The logistics have to go on, and that in itself is difficult. It's difficult because we're human, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to segue and talk about human capital, right? Like, relationships matter in business. Relationships, partnerships, that matters. And too often today, I feel like we don't put enough emphasis on the relationships that we have with people.
Yeah.
That we leverage people too much to benefit ourselves, and not so much to help each other out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And that's a very, very important thing to say, because they do matter. And like you said, people leverage other people for their gain, but it should always be about how you can help somebody. Reciprocation.
Like, what's so wrong with reciprocation, bro? Like, why is it all about, if me and Damien doing something, I got to get all the shine, because it's got to be about me getting all the likes, the looks, and the attention, even though I know he's doing a lot of work. Like, at what point in the game does it become, no, this is us. Like, we're a unit. The unit doesn't have to last forever, but while the unit is intact, the unit is the unit. Yeah. Like, we've become so individualized. And I'm not saying that you have to like link up with people all the time, but I see so many people break apart in their partnerships because it becomes about one person.
Man,
it's a David Ruffin type situation. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciation is the most like it's one of the things that doesn't exist in businesses. Like people don't show appreciation. They don't just randomly say, man, hey Tim, I like that. Hey Tim, that was good. Like people don't just randomly do that, because ultimately what they do see when Tim did something, they see, well, can I do it too? And for me, I've been practicing that
for the fresh air, man.
Man, I've been practicing this for so long that I've been trying to like improve upon that, because as a Black community, we're so scarred, and it's deeper than us understanding that, because it's happened to us all along. Maybe we had bad dads, maybe we had bad moms, maybe we were in a bad family and nobody ever showed appreciation for each other. But appreciation is one thing that is just like, you gotta do. First thing I did when I walked in here, hey, I love this spot.
Hey man, I appreciate that.
Hey man, I love this spot. Hey, and I said it more than once. And I want you to know that, like, bro, this isn't natural. Yeah. This is extraordinary what you're doing. Yeah. And I appreciate it.
Yeah. Man, let me jump in on that, man. I have no problem with giving people their flowers. Yeah. Too often what I notice though, Damien, is that people go into situations expecting to fall off with you later. Mm-hmm. So instead of telling you, especially on camera, how much they admire you, they just kind of hold back. It's like, well, I don't want to like no dummy later. What if next year he fall off with me and start talking shit? Then he gonna have all this video footage of me kissing his ass, and it's like, bro, if you feel that way about somebody up front, why would you even go into business with them, right? And with me, man, I always tell people I don't have any competition. Like, I don't mind giving you the game if you come and ask me for it, because my thing is we're not competing. Yeah, we live in Dallas-Fort Worth, bro. Dallas-Fort Worth is the 5th largest media market. It's a centralized, located place. There is so much money to make here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Like, I have no qualms whatsoever talking to somebody about real estate, because we are literally still building houses in the city of Dallas. Yeah. They're literally still building houses in the city of Fort Worth. Yeah. You go to Philly, you go to New York, you go to LA, you got to go super far out to get stuff built, right? Yeah. And then you think about our suburbs, how far out our suburbs are, but how they're connected to the city still. Yeah. It's so much opportunity, right? Yeah. But people, it's like they're afraid to say, man, good job. I'm proud of you. Like, I make it a point to let people know I'm proud of them, man. Because it's something about going through a dark place and just feeling like giving up, and then you get a random text message from somebody. It's like, that was right on cue. You get a random text message from somebody. It's like, hey man, I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work. Yeah. And it's like, damn, I'm not doing this shit for nothing. Like, you know, it's not that I need people to validate me, or we need validation at all, but it's good to know that people are seeing what you're doing and they respect it and they tell you that. Like, we got to get back into that as men. We got to get back into that as a community, man. You want to conclude that and chop that up a little bit more? Man, men have to get back into it. I don't think men have ever been there. Nope. But men have to start doing it. It's soft though, man. You a punk if you tell somebody, you know, they doing good. Yeah, man. No, men have to do it. Men have to actually practice it, man. Yeah. They have to practice appreciation toward other men. They have to practice appreciation towards their women, or their woman. It's just like, no, they women. You said it right now. No, hey, it's one. No, you got to practice appreciation towards, you know, these different entities in your life, because it's something that you release. And it's something that when you receive it, it feels good. And you know what, man? Our kids are watching. You know, our kids are watching. I have a 12-year-old and a 2-month-old. Our kids were born. Our daughters were born a day apart from each other. It was funny because we were supposed to do this podcast like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, right? Yeah. He was like, man, I want to come, but my wife is going to be in labor. I was like, man, don't feel so bad. We can redo any day now. And then we end up having our kids a day apart, man. Yeah. But our children are watching how we treat each other. Our children are watching how we feel about each other. Like, and they observe and they mimic. And it's like, you know, I'll never forget somebody says it's hard disciplining you out your kids. Yeah. Yeah. Because they're doing exactly what they see. And a lot of the anger comes from that being you. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is, most of the time we don't discipline the you out of our kids. Yeah. We just keep it going. You know, our culture is notorious for that, where the things that we did, the things that we wanted, that we lacked in our childhood, that we know were just stupid things, we still pass them on to our children. We still pass them on to the children. In one form or another. Yeah. I mean, I look back, you know, from a high school standpoint, I look back and I see, you know, people
like in high school that had kids in high school, right?
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people have achieved great things from having kids in high school, so it's not always a bad thing. But then you see their children having kids in high school because they didn't ultimately internalize how that impacted themselves by having someone, you know, too early that they weren't prepared to raise.
No, that's real, man. Let's talk about that because, and this is not a knock to anybody because I know people who listen to my show have probably had kids in high school and they're my age and they're grandparents now, right? So I'm not shitting on nobody.
No.
But life is a little bit easier when you wait. You know what I'm saying? Like
when you're prepared,
when you're financially prepared. I'll give you an example. My wife is she's in education, right?
Yeah.
So she's an education administrator.
Yeah.
You know, and education is heavily dominated by women. Like the field itself is just a heavily woman dominated field. Well, subsequently, they don't pay for maternity leave in school districts.
Wow.
Like the average school district doesn't pay for maternity leave. We didn't know that until she got ready to go on maternity leave. Thankfully for us, we were prepared. Like we had, you know, we have the money to cover our expenses. We typically live off one, you know, one income.
Very important.
And then the lesser of the two. That's our philosophy. We live off one income and the lesser of the two.
Very important.
Right? Mm-hmm. So we don't live beyond our means. We live well, but we don't live beyond our means. So thankfully for us, we were able to afford everything, and we have investments paying for things. But it just got me to thinking, like, how are a lot of single moms in education being able to sustain when they're off work for 2 or 3 months? This is why you see a lot of women going back to work, you know, barely healed, right? And we're not going to make this about that. But what I'm saying is that at some point in the game, it's like we're going to have to understand that we have to start preparing for these things a little bit more because 18, 19-year-old or even 15, 16-year-old having a child just ain't ready financially to take care of that child.
Man. And like you said, we're not going to shit on anyone for having a kid early. But at the end of the day, we all have to understand that is not the right time to have a child.
It's not, man.
It's not financially, mentally, physically for you. It's emotionally. Not emotionally. It's not. Like I talk about it all the time to me and my wife. It's like our time of having a kid allowed for the same things you just mentioned. When I had my first child, I was off for 12 weeks. I was with a company that gave leave to, you know, the woman, the man, the domestic partner, whoever, right? Yeah. And they gave that leave. Just had, you know, our third child, and we were financially ready to take off for whatever. My wife, we owned a dental practice. We found another doctor to come in for her so she could take her time off.
That's dope.
And we were able to, you know, financially get through that, right?
That's
we
dope,
planned
man.
for it. So when you plan for things, it makes everything a lot better. But sometimes, like I said, we don't internalize things as a black race. What we do, we just allow shit to happen to us.
A lot of us do. And I think what happens is the ones that do they become the representation of all. So the Tims and the Damiens and the people who sit back and say, no, I got to be prepared for everything and I got to have a plan. We're not represented.
No.
We're looked at as bougie niggas, or we looked at as people who are looking down because we're just holding people accountable and saying, hey man, we can do this. Like, but what happens is the people who tend to be more frivolous, they get all the shine. They're the face of black people, right? Yeah. And so then it becomes an all of us thing, and all of us thing, and all of us thing. And what I want to do here is say, no, that ain't all of us, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? They don't represent all of us. There's people out there who are actually about this life of being financially independent, running businesses, having family structure, and we openly want to show you how we do it. But see, mainstream media, they're not going to show you this because it doesn't fit the narrative that's being sold and being mass produced through our music and through our entertainment. Yeah. And another thing we got to do is we gotta acknowledge this shit. Like we got to stop hustling for the cherry on top and start hustling for the cake. Like all that shine. I like you because you and me, I think what we have in common is that we don't really need to be seen. I don't need to be seen. I don't like to be seen. Believe it or not, I have a personality. I like to trip out and act a damn fool on social media from time to time. But when I go into a room, I fall back and observe.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a flashy guy. the way I grew up was you didn't show your money because we grew up in the hood, and you come around with a little bit too much shit, somebody's gonna want it.
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And so with that being said, people like you and I don't get the spotlight because we tend to fall back. But now you're starting to see a lot of people like you and I rise to the top and say, no, fuck all that. Like, that's not culture.
No, it's not.
Culture is what we're doing. Meet my wife. My wife is a black dentist. We have 3 beautiful girls. We operate a trucking business. We have season tickets to the Mavericks. Like, we are the fucking American dream. You know what I'm saying?
American dream, bro. The American dream.
And I remember, that was me. Like, before a couple years ago for pandemic, same situations. Meet Tim Jackson, real estate broker. His wife does this. My kids do this. We got season tickets to the Mavericks. When you be posting, I said, damn, they're like the same section we was in. We was in the little business area. You know what I'm talking about? Like
the platinum area.
Yeah, we were in the platinum section right in the middle. Man, we had some good tickets.
Yeah.
We used to give them away to our clients, man.
Man, I honestly, that's something that was a goal. And I have goals that aren't even like written down, but they're internalized. I was like, one day I want to be a season ticket holder. I don't like the Mavs.
No,
I know this is a detailed podcast, but I don't like the Mavs. I'm a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
But I was like, I wanted to do something that was a goal. One, I'm a tax guy, so I looked at it from a business standpoint of what. And right now, 100% meals and entertainment are tax deductible, 100%. Right. So I was like, I'm preparing for the end of the year, preparing for the next year taxes. What can I do? All right, let's go get season tickets. And right now, I use it as a time for me and my wife to get away from the kids and just have conversation and have fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're a season ticket holder, I don't spend half of my time in the seat. The craziest thing, I spend most of my time just chilling, talking to my wife and getting to know other people. Walking
around, talking to the people next to you. When I was there Dirk's last year, so we got the Dirk bobblehead commemorative stuff. I'm asking you this, man. This gonna sound like some elitist shit, but if y'all can't get with this, come step your game up. We trying to put y'all on something. How did it feel when you walked by the first time and saw your little name on a little screen?
Oh man, it feels good. It feels good for them to like. It's like, like I said, these are goals, right?
Yeah, man.
These are things, and for me, I do a lot of things just to see if it's attainable. Yeah. I was like, man, how much cost the season tickets? Okay, all right, let's see if this works. Then I thought about, okay, it's a passive business too. They got a structure set up to where I can sell my tickets. I can transfer my tickets to my families, or to, like you said, to business people, to my clients. We can run raffles through our dental practice. I can run raffles through the Truck and Cheat Code. I can do pretty much anything with those tickets I want. But you know what? I wanted to go to certain games, and I'm tired of paying these enormous, crazy prices for those certain games.
My client, he has them too, and this dude always makes his money back plus. He said last year, with them going on that run they went getting to the playoff, he said, man, I made so much money last year on them tickets, bro, because there was such a buzz behind Luka and the team. He said we didn't go to a lot of them games. We sold most of our tickets, man. Yeah. To the point to where we could sell some and then give some away. He gave us some this year. He's like, man, your son's birthday coming up, man. I love his podcast. Tell him I'm watching him, I'm following him. Here, go to the game. So we're going to check out a game. I think it's the Clippers or somebody coming to town in December. I don't know who it is. I think it's the Clippers. But we're going to go to that game, man. Yeah. But you get your parking. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really, it's a write-off.
Yeah, it is a write-off for a business owner. It's a getaway for us. My wife, she loves the games. Even though she's not a huge sports fan, she just loves the ideal of being there and being able to, have a place where she can always sit and interact with people. So it's been good that way.
It's been good, man. And that's obtainable.
It's attainable, man.
I don't think people realize, like, a lot of stuff that people think that it's not obtainable is really in reach. And it's funny you say you did it just to see if you could do it. Like, that's literally why I got season ticket holder. I said, you know what, man? I want to be a season ticket holder. I want to say that I was a season ticket holder. I want to extend this to people who would probably normally never go to a game because they can't afford it in my business. But more importantly, I want to be able to go and have a good night with my wife, and people come in town. We can go watch the games. Me and my son can bond a little bit more and go to the games.
Exactly.
And sometimes we would go to the games, man. We would just walk around.
Yeah.
We would walk around the platinum level. We'd go get something to eat. We would go in other areas, man. And it's just an experience, bro.
It's an experience.
And then the stuff that you get, like the emails, like they be emailing you all kinds of shit. You get so many offers that everybody don't have access to, man.
Yeah. I just got an email when I was pulling up here. They said, hey, if you want to come and shoot a free throw at the next Mav when they play Golden State, I think it's on Tuesday. If you want to shoot a free throw, sign up, be on the list.
The fucking irony that it's a Golden State game. So my offer that I got was to sit courtside during warm-ups. That was the first year Durant was in I think it was the last year Durant was there.
Yeah.
And so literally I have video footage of us just courtside doing warm-ups. I'm as close to I am to you to Durant shooting 3-pointers. Draymond Green came out there, said what's up to us.
Yeah.
We watched Steph, like we were this close to him. And then there was another time where they offered me to do like a layup, either free throw or layup line or something cool like that for the people.
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, it's like, it may seem kind of corny to some people, but that's kind of cool, man.
It's cool. And it's experiences not only for just yourself, but like you said, you bring your son. I'm going to start bringing my daughter.
And
She's
they love
4.
Kids.
They love kids.
Bro.
Man. And then just think about how far it elevates your child's head.
That's what I was going to tell you, bro.
Man, your mind, the kids, like one of the biggest things that I always tell people that is going to impact your child's upbringing is 1, their discipline and their exposure. So it's 1, discipline, 2, exposure. If you can't discipline them, and we all know this, just whooping their ass is not discipline.
It's not going to work.
But then the second one is...
It creates contention.
It creates contentions.
Yeah.
But being able to put them on a schedule, being able to keep yourself on a schedule so they stay on a schedule, being able to put them in extracurricular activities and make sure they get their own time, make sure that they're always there, make sure that they're competitive and make sure they're engaged, that's discipline, right? Make sure they're eating certain things, discipline. Exposure, making sure that they're getting another level of exposure beyond what you have, right? So my tickets, I just wasn't to expose myself to it.
It's them too.
It's them too.
I took a kid that I mentor from, I think his sophomore year in high school until he graduated. Now he's like 25 or 26. The Mavs offered us to come through like the tunnel and like give 5s to the players and they came out, right? So that was his first time doing some shit like that. He's like, man, this is cool. But back to that exposure. Let's talk about that because, this weekend I met with a gentleman who's coming to Dallas to put on a huge conference. And so we had to go tour a bunch of venues and shit like that. And I brought William with me, right?
Yeah.
And typically when I go to business meetings, I always bring William.
Yeah.
If I go and speak somewhere, like I've flown to, I think I went to Atlanta, I went to DC and spoke. He couldn't come to DC with me, but he came to Atlanta with me.
Yeah.
Stayed the whole weekend, sat with me on the panel. Like, people were like, damn, you take your son everywhere. We went to Atlanta a couple times, went down to Houston. Like, he's always with me. And I brought him to this business meeting this weekend. And the guy we were meeting, he said, how old are you? He was like, I'm 12. He said, do you realize, what your dad is doing? He's got you here with this person who is an important figure. You're sitting in the middle between him and your dad having a conversation with me about business. He said, it may not make sense to you now, but when you become an adult, you're going to look back on these moments and think, this is why I am who I am.
Yeah.
Because I was exposed to this stuff at such a young age. Why is it important for your daughters to see you and your wife, particularly your wife, in the light that they see their mom in, and then you as a man in the way that you represent how women should be treated by their men?
It's really important because exposure is what expounds your mind. It expounds your creativity. It expounds everything that you think that you can do. It's gonna actually change it, right? Like it's the same thing as working a muscle. You go work a muscle, that muscle cracks, it breaks, and now it becomes, it actually becomes where you can actually gain muscle, right? So it's very important because the crazy thing, I was driving my daughter to school today, and the first thing she was talking about, she was like, Daddy, Mama's a dentist. Daddy, at school, I tell everybody, I put on a white coat and I tell them I'm a dentist. She's not saying anything that she shouldn't be saying, but in most kids' realities, they're not talking about becoming a doctor. No. They're not talking about becoming a lawyer, right? Because they're not exposed to these things. And I was talking to my wife's gynecologist. He's a male gynecologist, and he's a doctor. And there's not a lot of them out there.
There's not.
And there's not a lot of them, man. And kids don't know what's attainable if you don't put it in front of them. Like, when I was growing up, the only thing I wanted to be was a doctor. And the reason I wanted to be a doctor is because I wanted to make money, because I wanted to take care of my mama, because I wanted to get us out of the situations where we at.
Yeah.
Kids shouldn't have to think like that, man.
They shouldn't, man. I brought Reggie Calhoun on, and he does a lot of stuff with kids in sports. And he said, you know, the first thing he does is he sits down with kids and say, you know, why do you want to go to the league? Well, I want to get my mom out the hood. He said, okay, like that shouldn't be a child's focus. Like it shouldn't be on the kid to get your mom out the hood or to get your family out the hood. Like, why are we putting that much pressure on kids, man? And you said something before I started recording. You said stress is the #1 killer.
That's unmeasurable.
That's unmeasurable. And it's like, even with me, man, like sometimes I wake up and it's like, man, my arm is hurting.
Yeah.
You know, I've been having a headache for 3 days. My back is hurting. It's like, I go to the doctor and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like that boils down to stress. So if that's me at damn near 40, just imagine the stress and the pressure that an 18-year-old has on his or her back, feeling the need to save their whole family.
Man, and we need to be able to tell our children that I don't need you to want to save me. I'm saving you. I'm taking you to the next level. All I want you to do as a kid right now is to think big, think further than me. That's it. And I'm going to make sure I expose you to those things that are going to help you think further than me. You know, a lot of our children, rappers, athletes, entertainers, because that's all they see.
That's all they see.
And a lot of the times we don't know how to correct that as family, because that's all we're seeing too. That's all we're subjecting ourselves to.
Well, then if you say something about it, you hate it. If you dare to say, I want to be more than a rapper, an athlete, or an entertainer, it's like, man, why you think you better than folks?
Yeah.
No, it's not that I think I'm better than folks. It's just that I want to be exposed to something else other than entertainment, because we've seen for decades and decades and decades that they don't even control their lives.
Yeah.
The moment you say something that that the people who are paying you don't want you to say,
man,
it's goodbye.
It's goodbye.
It's goodbye.
And the one thing that for kids and then for parents, it's always about history, right? Like if you look at the history, you look at the statistics of people being successful in these different industries, whether it be football, basketball, you should be able to say, hey, I don't want to put my kid at the odds of no success because all I've done is poured into this one specific thing. I've taken them to every football practice from Pee-wee on up, and the chance of them being at the pinnacle of the football career is so slim. But you know what? The chance of them being a great accountant is very, very high.
And the longevity. That's
and the
a 40-year
longevity. The chance of them being a doctor and the chance of them changing the trajectory of their entire lives and their children's lives is very high if they put in those 10 years of becoming a doctor. Right? We're not thinking like that, man. God damn it. Why, though? Why? I don't know why. Like, we just don't think like that, bro.
We think like that, you and I, but that image isn't shown.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that this is a renaissance right now. I believe that people are I hate to use the term waking up, but people are finally starting to come to the realization that we as a people as a whole have been sold a lot of bullshit as it relates to who we are and who we can become.
Yeah.
And now you have people like me who don't give a fuck about what anyone thinks. Because I've put, wait for it, hundreds of thousands of dollars back into my community and teaching people how to become better versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And you can't take shit from me. You know, so I don't give a fuck how y'all niggas feel. At the end of the day, if you're not contributing to the greater good of people like me who look like you so that we can break away from these stereotypes and shit like that, it's fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just how I feel. I'm not tiptoeing around it. I've tiptoed around it for too long, and them niggas still do the same shit. So it's fuck them. We're going to create something over here, and we're going to box you out. You know, because whenever people like me come along and say, hey, this ain't wrong, then the first thing they tell them say, we need to keep them out. We need to box them out. Okay, bet. We're going to box y'all out over here. And when you start seeing us making our own money, that can't nobody take away from us. When you start seeing us making moves that can't nobody interrupt, then you're going to want to come over here and the price is going to go up, or we're going to kick you out. We're going to keep you out. And that's how I feel about this shit, because we creating our own culture. I don't even want to be a part of anybody who feels that my only success has to be in some form of entertainment, and I got to kiss somebody's ass to make $1.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I mean that shit too.
I know you do.
Fuck them. You know what I'm saying?
I know you
and
do,
people
dog.
catching on to it.
Yeah.
It's people out there like, and I know street niggas. I know some street niggas, rugged street niggas that be, I can show you the text message like, man, stay on them niggas' neck.
Yeah.
If somebody would have talked to me when I was 15, like you talking to us now, I wouldn't have went out there and been selling dope. I wouldn't have been out there hitting licks. I would have believed that there was something more for me. And that's why it's so important for us, even at Real Youth Mentoring, to take our boys on trips.
Yeah.
To get them out of the city. We took our boys to Atlanta, Memphis, and Birmingham a couple of years ago, prior to the pandemic. 15 boys went. Out of the 15 boys, 10 boys, most of the boys had never even left Dallas.
Man.
10 of them stayed on the honor roll until they graduated, and some of them were still on the honor roll to this day. But we took them on a luxury trip with luxury Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans, stayed in a mansion, stayed in, high rises with city views. Their whole perspective of life, Damien, changed after that trip, because it's like, it's more to life outside of Oak Cliff.
Man, expounded. It's here. It's there now.
It's like taking the blue pill on the Matrix, bro.
Yeah.
And a lot of our boys don't leave their hood until they go to court and go to prison.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck that hood shit, man. Like, that's why I tell niggas when they like, oh, yeah, I'm from such and such. My first question is, do you own property over there? How many houses do you own over there?
Yeah.
Well, quit fucking telling me you from that hood, because that ain't your hood, man.
Yeah.
You don't own shit.
I've never been one to claim a hood, bro. Never. Meadowbrook, I grew up in Meadowbrook. My childhood church was in Stop 6. When I would tell them where I go to church, oh, Stop 6. Wow. Oh, that's the hood, bro. That's deep. I'm like, okay. I've never been one, From when it was time to leave Fort Worth, shoot, I shot out to wherever I wanted to go, wherever I thought was best for my family, at this point. But never claimed a hood because it didn't make sense. Like your first test, do you own property there? If they say no, how's it your hood?
How's it your hood?
But in the same sense, what has that ever done for anybody to say this is my hood?
Not a goddamn thing. And I'm going to say it. I don't give a fuck how y'all feel. There's no hood credit and street credit can't buy you a motherfucking thing.
No.
And we gravitate to that shit so much, Damien. It's like, I'm a real nigga has kept more niggas in the dirt, put more niggas in the dirt and put more niggas in jail and kept more niggas from being able to advance than any other statement ever or any other position ever. Like, why is it so important for you to be a real nigga? A real nigga don't have to tell people he a real nigga.
Yeah,
a real nigga don't have to tell people that.
No. You see it when you walk up to somebody. The first time I met you, it's like, hey, he a real one.
Yeah.
You can just see it. You feel it. He ain't on no BS. He ain't trying to size me up. He just here because he want to elevate everything that's around him. The only hood that I'm ever gonna claim is fatherhood.
Man,
I love the fatherhood aspect of it because of the reasons that fatherhood takes everything to the next level. If you pour into your children,
they're the future.
And
they're gonna take care of you.
If you pour into your wife and you partner with your wife the right way, it's gonna go to the next level. Right? So fatherhood is so important, man, and that's the only hood I'm ever gonna claim.
Man, that's dope. We can wrap it up on this. I'm gonna ask you a question. I always ask people this question. Damien, how old are you, man? If your mom asks.
I'm 36.
Okay, so we're a couple of years apart from each other.
Yeah.
So you can go back. How long you been married?
I've been married since we're going in our 11th year.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
So let's say you can go back 15 years from now. I normally say 10, but I'm gonna say 15 prior to you being married. And my favorite movie, I always say this on every episode, my favorite movie is one of them is Back to the Future 2. I like that one because they go back to the future. They literally go to the future. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you got Biff, he flies back to the 50s, hands himself an almanac and says, hey, read this book, bet on these, and thank me later. And then the Biff who gets it in the 50s has all the answers to every game that was ever played.
Yeah.
And so he starts betting and he becomes like a trillionaire, right?
Yeah.
The luckiest man in sports, right? So if you could go back 15 years and have that Biff moment with yourself where you stand in front of yourself and say, hey, I'm you from 15 years now. You need to do this. Like, what would be the advice you would give yourself?
The number one advice that I would give to myself at that time would be focus on my health. Focus on health. And then the second one would be buy some damn real estate.
Yeah.
Like those things. I was 20. I was at a point, probably 21, at a point where I could have purchased real estate. And even if I couldn't purchase real estate, I should have figured out how to buy some real estate.
Yeah. That's
the number one advice. And then number 3 that I always say, and I've been saying this, I said this on the Black Wealth Renaissance podcast too, stay at home. A lot of people are, the fact of staying at home, what happens is in our black community, we think 18 is the start of our life and 18 is the end of our education in most cases. But what I want to change the narrative, and I want to change the narrative, and I want to say 25 should be the end of your formal education. And then 25 is the time that you should potentially leave home.
We're going to peel back that layer for a second. I worked for Samsung, which is a Korean-based company. When I started with the company, we had to take Korean like literature history classes, right? And they talked about how in the Korean community, like everything is pretty much a science, right? You graduate high school. If you're in Korea, you go to the military for 2 years. You know, so between 18 to 20, you know, maybe 21, you're in the military. Then you go back and you go to college for another 4 years. And then, you know, during this time, you're living at home. Yeah. Right? You move home. And then you don't get married until you're, you know, almost 30. Yeah. You know, 28, 29, 30. Yep. You marry someone from your culture. Okay. Yep. I'm telling the story, so don't get the fuck out of my inbox. I'm not trying to say who not to marry, but you marry somebody from your culture because they're very about clandestine. You marry the people in your group. And this person, and by the way, when you go, you find the job after college, you move back home, you save up your chicks, right? So then by the time you do get married, you marry someone who's followed the exact same blueprint. Yeah. So now you guys are not only getting married, but you both have X amount of money saved up, and then you go and you buy a piece of property. You can pay cash for it. You don't have any debt. And then after so much time, the parents come and they live with you. It's like a reverse effect. Oof. So now the parents come and they live with you and you take care of them until they die. And then you teach your kids to follow the same blueprint. And everyone does it. It's like it's a part of their culture. It doesn't matter. Like if you Samsung and we, what's the LG? Yeah. Like the Samsung people stay over here with Samsung people. The LG people stay over with the LG people. But everyone follows the same blueprint, bruh.
That culture blueprint that you mentioned doesn't exist in our culture, and it's the reason why there's so much brokenness.
Because we're grown
at 18. Yeah. We fell out of school. We leave school. We don't have no savings. So I'm just reverse engineering everything that you just said. We don't have no savings. We get into relationships. We spend all of our money. Our relationships aren't purposeful at that point because we're still young and we're mixing and mingling, so they're not purposeful at that point. So now we spend all our money. We're in a broken relationship. We potentially have a child. And now when we finally get to the point we understand, which is probably that 25 to 30-year-old range.
I say 30 to 35.
Yeah, where we actually understand how to conduct ourselves in relationships. We got 2 kids. We're on child support. Now we're affecting the current relationship because our financial security isn't there because we're paying for the mistakes that we had in the past. And now
the decisions, not the mistakes.
The decisions. Don't say mistakes.
You don't say mistakes because some kids came out. Yeah. But the decisions, not the mistakes
that we had in the past. And our life can't be as fruitful. Or we gotta work much, much harder. I'm always about working smarter and harder. So that blueprint is hella important, bro.
And to the contrarian in the comments, yes, we understand that there was an attempt, a large attempt, a successful attempt to separate our families, you know, through the welfare system, through mass incarceration, through so many different legislative practices that put situations in place where black men were separated from their families were separated from each other. It didn't benefit people to have families because the welfare system says you can't be married, you can't have somebody living. We get that, all right? This is not we're not painting a big wall with a broad stroke. What we're saying is now that we know better, now that we understand the game that has been played, you have to follow a different blueprint. You have to challenge that norm. You have to ask yourself, damn, is this norm? Is this right? something about this can't be right, right? And for me, growing up in an area in Dallas where I went to Skyline High School. Skyline was that school that everyone from around the entire city went to Skyline. You understand? From every school. So I met people from every side of town.
Yep.
And I saw how they did things differently. I was in school with people that was super poor. I was in school with people that was super rich. I was in school with people that was in the middle. We fell in that middle class, right?
Yeah.
But in my neighborhood, I saw, households where one person turned out to be this, politician and the other person turned out to be the dope man. You know what I'm saying? So I saw the difference in the dynamics of the families, but for me, it was a choice. I was choosing to want to be a tough guy. I was choosing to want to be a street nigga, if you will. Yeah. Until I started coming up against situations that showed me that, hey man, this ain't for you. And I had older people who would pull me to the side like, hey Tim, you're different. Like, you're different. Like, this should not be your path. My mother used to take me to a prison for 2 years straight. She took me to visit people in prison in our family for 2 years straight. Yeah. She was like, okay, this type of life you want to be about, this is what it looks like. Sometimes we would get in the car and drive 2-3 hours and get down there and the prison would be on lockdown. We couldn't even get in. Yeah. Like, people don't understand the effects that your decisions have on your life forever.
And that exposure,
man. So even me seeing that, I was just like, you know what, man, this ain't for me. This ain't for me. And then when I came across a situation and realized how quick people bailed out on me, but I was expected to be a real nigga and keep it and hold it down. And even though I did it, I was just like, man, fuck these niggas, man. Ain't nobody about nothing. So, I'm sorry I went on that tangent. We supposed to wrap up shit, and you opened up Pandora's box.
Man, the big box that you opened and that you explained is that culture blueprint. A lot of times we don't have a culture blueprint. Yeah. So what we do what everybody think. 18, get out of my house. If you want to go to school, maybe you can go to school, maybe not. In my house, ain't no maybe not. Yeah. It's education. Yeah. And it's not education because college is what's going to take you to the next level. Mm-hmm. What else as an 18 to 21 to 22-year-old are you going to be doing with your life that's going to be productive? Right. And so, okay, yeah, I got businesses. You can work on my business, but your maturity isn't there yet to help the business the right way.
Gotta be educated.
You got to be educated. Yeah. There's a way of the land that you need to be educated upon. Yeah. And of course, you being my child, you're not going to listen to me 100%. Right. But you may listen to that teacher. And so
the people sharing that experience with you.
Man. So that cultural blueprint would change all the issues that we have. It would change all of the issues we have, but we don't have one as a black people, as an African-American race. We do not have a cultural blueprint. What we have is, hey, I'm tired of you. Get out my house. If you want to go to school if you want. If you want to be, you don't know what you want to be? Oh, that's okay. No. We need to build some doctors. We need to build some lawyers. Yeah. We need to have a plan, on to something right here.
Man. I might title this the cultural blueprint, man. Because at some point in the game, man, we're going to have to acknowledge, we're going to have to stop the bleeding. Yeah. And I'll say this, and I've said it very candidly, everybody can't go. Everybody don't want to go. Sadly, you're going to have to disassociate yourself and cut yourself off from the people that just don't want it. Yeah. Because what they're going to do is they're going to pull you back in to make it seem like this ain't so bad. No, it's bad. Sitting around and not having a plan, sitting around and not having structure, not having the financial stability, not putting yourself in a position where, you can't take care of your family. Me and my mother were driving yesterday. She recently had surgery and she's, I'm taking her around so she can walk. She said, I want to walk on concrete, Yeah. She's moving a little bit slower. So we took her around to the park and then we saw some homeless people. And she said, it just breaks my heart, to see people that's homeless. I said, it breaks my heart too, Mom. I said, and oftentimes I wonder how they became homeless. Yeah. I said, being a veteran, I understand that there's a lot of homeless veterans and some people just like to live off the grid. They don't want a structure. I said, some people get caught up in drugs and some people get caught up in situations. I think she said, what would you do if you were in that situation, Tim? I said, Mom, if I can be completely honest with you, I don't ever plan to be in that situation because I understand how to make $1. And I understand that even though shit happens, people depend on me, man.
Accountability, bro.
People depend on me, bro.
What did we say at the beginning? Accountability. Yeah. Accountability is the number one thing that won't allow you to fall off the map, bro.
Yeah. And listen, my wife tells her own story. At one point in the game, they were homeless. She was homeless for a short period of her life. And she says, Tim, I remember sleeping in a car. She said, I remember telling myself as a kid, she said, my mom did everything she could and to prevent that situation from happening. And it happened. And we were always the family that looked out for people and took care of people, and nobody would help us. And she said, my mom fought. And if you meet my wife and her mom is a rider. Yeah. She said she did everything she could to make sure we had a roof over our head. And she got us a place, and it's been up since then. And they went from living in the biggest house in the neighborhood to being in a car to now having stability. She says, Tim, I'll never, ever, ever put myself in a position to where me or my kids or anyone around me will ever have to sleep in a car. Yeah. That's not knocking people who are in that situation right now. And if you are listening to this and you are in that situation right now, understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you can to get out of this situation. Swallow your pride. Stop feeling like you have to follow a blueprint that's been broken forever. Yeah. Go a different way. It can't get no worse. Take a chance on yourself and believe in yourself, and seek out people, seek out the program, seek out the help that you need, not to sit on that help forever, but to leverage you to get out of that situation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But damn, man, I'm about to pass the offering plate around, man. Listen. Listen, man. But listen, man, we finna wrap it up, man. Tell everybody where they can find you at, bro.
Man, so social media, Instagram is djones_817 for all my Funky Town people.
Thought you didn't claim your hood.
There's a story there. My brother hit me up the other day. Bro, you got to change your Instagram handle. I was like, bro, you told me to get on Instagram. This was what your name was. So I just put D Jones at the front of it. Yeah, so D Jones_817 for my Instagram. If you guys need any trucking education, at the Trucking Cheat Code on Instagram, hit us up. If you need a dentist, if you're within an hour of Aubrey, Frisco, Prosper area, come see us. If you're not within an hour, still come see us. You will have the best dental experience that you've ever had. This will become, a lot of people have dental anxieties and they don't want to come to the dentist. Mm-hmm. We changed that. My wife is a phenomenal dentist. She's the best dentist in the world.
I have to tell my sons, my son lives with me full time, but his mother lives out in that area. Yeah. And so we used to go to, hopefully I'm not shouting out any competition, but we used to go to the dental spa in Frisco. There's another black lady. Yeah. But I quit going to it when I moved, and I was like, there's not really too many black people that do dentists. So when I heard that you guys were out there, I said, I bet that's great.
Yeah, it's been, the community has responded really, really well in the last 2 years. We opened up in the pandemic. And again, I'm going to say this point. We had a goal in 2017, Tim. We set a goal as a family, me and my wife. We didn't have any kids at this time. We said by December, we said in 2020, we was going to open a dental practice. Pandemic or not, we still hit that goal.
I'm going to tell everybody I know about you guys. I follow you guys. I love your marketing. I love the way that you guys market. Yeah. But I like the fact that you show yourselves. You show yourselves living life. Yeah. And I think too often within our community, we don't do that enough. Yeah. Yeah. Because we have to, I don't know what it's about. It's like we so goddamn scary. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. To show our families and show who we are. It's like people gonna come at you. They're gonna come at you either way it goes. So you might as well be out there, making your money and showing people how to do it the right way. Yeah. Yeah. We are that new image, bro.
Exactly.
And then what'd you say the dental?
The dental is 1385 Dental Studio. I think that's it. Let me make sure.
What's the significance of 1385?
So we're on a cross street, and the cross street is 1385. Okay, cool. We was having a hard time naming the practice. Yeah. And it came down to the wire. And we was like, well, we're right here by 1385. So, yeah, we named it based on that.
That's dope, man. Yeah. That's dope. I'm going to let my people out there know.
1385 Dental Studio. We're in Aubrey, right next to Frisco. Right next to Prosper. So yeah, y'all pull up, man.
For sure. Well, listen,
doing everything, smile makeovers. I know there's been a boom, but
everybody getting their teeth done.
Yeah, man, she gets to it on that, man. But
she do Invisalign.
She do Invisalign too.
Yeah, yeah. So she does all that. Does she do like the teeth, like what do they call the implants? Dental implants, all that
implants.
Stuff?
Yeah,
she does it all.
Yeah. So this is the great thing is when you have a partner that wants to build you up, they want to make sure that you are going to be the greatest at everything. So I want her to do everything. So she got her education to do implants. She's doing the veneers, the cosmetic stuff that a lot of people, I'm pushing her out there because I believe that she could be the best, and she is the best. Anything
talk that shit about your wife, man.
Anything when it comes to dentistry, she's the best, bro, and she's passionate about it. She's compassionate about it too. She does not come into the situation not without your best interest. Like, she can't do something, she's not gonna do it.
That's dope. We need that. That's what you call integrity. That's what you call integrity. Well, listen, you guys, me and him will stay here for another hour.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you all for watching. I'm going to have Damien's information in the show notes. Be sure to follow him, his businesses. Take a look at his course. Also, you guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow the show, No More OGs. This is the only podcast that's bringing people on who are actually doing what they say they're doing, because we're creating a new culture. We're not sitting back letting the culture define who we are. It's not about getting high, getting drunk, fuck bitches, and killing niggas. We off that shit, man. That shit is old. That shit is played out. That shit is dead to us. We're showing you a culture of people who are starting their businesses and operating 6-7-figure businesses, teaching others how to do the same. People who love their families, people who believe in family structure, people who believe in friends and having fun and just having a good time, but having integrity. We don't hustle for the cherry on top. We hustle for the cake. So that's what this is about. If you can get with it, get with it. Like I say all the time, we ain't for everybody and everybody ain't for us. But the people that fuck with us, I can guarantee you their lives are going to be a whole lot different in a better way, because they're subscribing to something that they can be proud of and they can share with others. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.